I'm Maria from Monterrey, Mexico. Please like and subscribe. I don't mean to brag, but I'm the front woman for the coolest band in town. Okay, I meant to brag a little bit. We rocked. There were 3 of us, me on guitar and lead vocals, Pablo on bass, and Noemi on drums. Crowds loved us. Or at least the crowds at our local high school and the music clubs did. We hadn't been on a big tour or anything like that yet, but I really wanted to show the world what we could do. I imagined us playing in front of sold-out crowds in Tokyo, LA, Buenos Aires, Paris. We just needed someone who believed in us enough to pay for it. Pablo didn't care about fame or record deals like I did. He was in it for the love of music. I was too, but I wanted to share our music with everyone everywhere. Pablo just wanted to rock out for our local fans. After school, we were rehearsing in my garage for our show that night. We had this year's Battle of the Bands coming up too. We came in second last year, and Pablo's still mad about it. The band who beat us, the Pink Ponies, were really good though. Plus, the girls were nice, so I didn't mind. But this year, we were gonna win. Did you guys hear? There are supposed to be some VIPs at the concert tonight. Like who? Who cares? We don't play music for those guys. We play for our fans. Why not both? I think Noemi regretted bringing it up, but I'm glad she did. That night, I wore my most fire outfit. If there really were gonna be some VIPs there, I wanted to make an impression. In the green room, we put our hands in like we always do before starting a show. Then we lifted our hands at the same time, cheered, and strutted out onto the stage. The venue was packed. There must have been a few hundred people there. You'd probably think I was nervous, but I wasn't. This was where I felt most at home. On stage with a guitar in my hands and a mic in front of me. I strummed the first chord and the crowd went nuts. It wasn't always like this. When I was younger, I was super shy. Even my parents thought I was a wallflower. All the other kids seemed so free and joyful, but I didn't know how to be myself like that. I was always stuck in my own head. Then one day in class, we were reading a play. It was a musical, but all my classmates and even the teacher were just reading the words in a monotone voice like a robot. When it was my turn to read a part, I started to sing. I don't even know why I did that. I wasn't planning to or anything, but in the moment, inspiration struck and the notes just poured out of me. Everyone stopped what they were doing. The sleeping students woke up to listen, and the ones who were already awake sat up straight. When I finished, the whole room burst into applause. Later that day at recess, Pablo approached me. He had never said a word to me before then. Not because he was a jerk or anything, I just kept to myself mostly. He said he was starting a band and wanted to know if I would join. Fast forward to now, and here we are performing together for a sold-out crowd. Pablo slapped the bass while I busted out a guitar solo. Noemi played her heart out on the drums. After the show, we stayed at the club to hang out and meet some of our fans.
Excuse me.
A man in a fancy suit approached us. His suit looked like it cost more than my guitar. He stood out from our other fans. He didn't seem like he was from around here.
I'm Darren Smith. I work for MSA Records. You guys put on one heck of a show.
Thanks so much.
I'd love to have you guys drop by for a meeting. We have a lot to discuss.
We do?
Absolutely. I see a very bright future for the band. With my label's help, your name will be in the lights.
He handed me a business card, flashed a $1 million grin, and left. Wow, I had so much fun playing that night that I had completely forgotten about the VIPs. But now, a big shot at a hot new record label wanted to collaborate? Things were really working out. At the record label building, Noemi, Pablo, and I all sat down for our meeting. There were plaques and awards on the walls and glossy photos of some incredible artists and bands. I had always aimed to be in the same league as those artists, but now someone important thought so too. Pablo wasn't nearly as excited as I was. He seemed skeptical, but that's just how he was. He had a hard time trusting people. Noemi was much more chill. She was the type to go with the flow.
I'll cut to the chase. I think you guys are the real deal, and I'd like to sign you. How does that sound to you?
Sounds amazing.
We need to see the contract first.
What they said.
Of course. I think you'll find it's more than generous. Your tour, equipment, sound guy, roadies, all of it will be fully paid for by the label, along with generous compensation.
The 3 of us looked over the contract. My eyes bugged out at 2 words. Global tour.
Hold on. What's this part about a 4th band member? That's part of the deal. You guys are good now, but imagine how great you could be with a 2nd guitar player. It'll really round out your sound.
Do we get to choose the new member?
I'm afraid not. The label's already picked someone, but I have no doubts he'll be a fantastic addition to your band.
Just then, maybe the hottest guy I'd ever seen walked into the room. He had a pierced ear and this floppy hair that covered one eye. I wanted to brush it for him.
Guys, I'd like you to meet your new rhythm guitar player, Tommy. Tommy is a killer musician. He also happens to be my son.
Tommy jammed his hands in his pockets, nodding to us casually. Noemi and I made moon eyes at him while Pablo gave him the death stare.
What do you say? Do we have a deal? We'll think about it.
Yes, we have a deal! The next day, we had our first rehearsal as a four-piece. Tommy was late.
Unbelievable. This jerk hasn't even been in the band for a full day and he's already late? How do we even know he can play? Why doesn't he have his own band? He needed daddy to pull some strings.
Pablo, at least give him a chance. What if he's great? Just then, Tommy appeared. He already had his guitar plugged in. He didn't say a word. I was mortified. Had he heard what Pablo just said about him? I wanted to throw something at Pablo, but I needed to keep my cool. What if Tommy went back to his dad and said we weren't ready and they canceled the tour? Tommy started to play. He was shredding. I'd never seen fingers move that fast before. It looked like little lightning bolts were coming off his guitar. Noemi nodded along, then kicked in on the drums. I strummed some chords, and even Pablo was impressed and joined in on bass.
That good enough for you?
Noemi and I definitely thought so.
Not bad, man. You've got some chops. Sorry I judged you.
We were all feeling great after the rehearsal. Now that we had Tommy on guitar, there was no way we wouldn't win the Battle of the Bands this year. Tommy hung back after Noemi and Pablo left.
Hey, I was hoping we could talk alone for a minute.
I could feel my palms start to sweat. Maybe he wanted to practice one-on-one.
My dad told me to say this to you before sharing it with the rest of the band.
Of course, he was only talking to me because his dad asked him to.
He wants to make some changes to the band's image, punch things up a little. If we're going to be performing all over the world, the band can't wear the same clothes on stage that they do in geometry class.
I don't know if Noemi and Pablo will go for that.
He thought they might resist. That's why they should hear it from you. You're the leader of this band, Maria. They'll listen to you.
I had never thought of myself as the leader before. We were all equally important. But Tommy wasn't wrong that Pablo and Noemi listened to me. And besides, what harm could it do to dress up a bit? It's not like he was asking us to change our music. And at the end of the day, that's what really mattered. I'll talk to them.
Thanks, Maria. I knew I could count on you. Just one more thing. My dad wants to move up the dates of the tour. We leave Saturday.
But the Battle of the Bands is Saturday. We've spent all year preparing for it.
Who cares about some local competition? It's a bunch of townies who will never go anywhere. I'm talking about a global tour here.
He took my hands just then.
Maria, my dad thinks you could really be a star.
And what do you think?
I think he's right.
That night, I called an emergency band meeting at our favorite club. I hoped that would soften the blow, but I was still nervous to break the news. So, it looks like our tour dates have changed. They want us to leave for Europe on Saturday.
You told them no, right? We can't miss the Battle of the Bands.
I said we'd do it. And not only that, they have these new outfits they want us to wear.
Sorry, who made you dictator? Last time I checked, we all got an equal vote. And I vote we play Battle of the Bands like we planned, in our normal clothes. Noemi, what's your vote?
Battle of the Bands. Sorry, Maria. Can I see the outfits, though? Guys, this is a global tour, just like we always wanted.
No, that's what you always wanted, not us. You've changed, Maria. Some new guy joins the band and suddenly you don't care what anyone else thinks but him? It's selfish.
There's nothing wrong with having big dreams. Sorry I have higher hopes for the band than just playing in the same old clubs all the time for the same old townies. I felt guilty immediately. I really loved our fans. I didn't mean to insult anyone. Pablo just made me so frustrated sometimes. He stared at me. He was mad, I knew that. But there was something else there too, like he was hurt.
Have fun in Europe.
Pablo stormed off. Noemi looked guilty. I felt bad for getting her caught in the middle like that. You know I always support you, Maria. Just be careful. Tommy doesn't know you like we do. He might not have your best interests at heart. She hugged me. Text me when you go to the Eiffel Tower. At the record label the next morning, I broke the bad news. I told Darren and Tommy that Pablo and Noemi weren't coming. There was no way we could do the tour without them.
What are you talking about? Of course you can. Drummers and bassists are a dime a dozen. The label will just hire new ones. You and Tommy are the faces of the band anyway.
I didn't like him talking about my friends like that, like they were replaceable. Had this been the plan all along? To get rid of Pablo and Noemi? Stop it, Maria, I told myself. You're about to live your dream. Pablo and Noemi chose to stay behind. You tried to convince them, and they said no. That Saturday, I watched the planes take off as we arrived at the airport. I started to get excited. This time tomorrow, I would be in Paris. Later, Tommy and I were waiting in the terminal for a flight to start boarding. I glanced over at Tommy's phone. He was browsing photos of our recent rehearsals. I looked closer. Every single photo was of himself. You couldn't even see me or Pablo or Noemi. Doubts started to nag at me again. I thought back on all the great times my band and I had shared together. The day Pablo approached me at recess. Our first jam session. The three of us at that late-night diner after our shows. The new guitar strap Pablo gave me for my birthday. Suddenly, I stood up.
The plane's not boarding yet.
I grabbed my guitar case and started to run.
My dad spent a lot of money on this tour.
Looks like you're playing solo. I raced outside and took the first taxi I could find. I just hoped I'd get there in time. The venue was crazy busy when I got there. People were squeezed in shoulder to shoulder. I could barely move. The Pink Ponies were playing up a storm on stage. The good news was that meant our band hadn't played yet. The bad news was the Pink Ponies sounded amazing. They were gonna be hard to beat. Backstage, I found Noemi and Pablo getting ready. Guys, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made a decision without asking what you both wanted first. I got carried away, but this is what matters. Right here, us. They were silent. I was scared. Maybe they wouldn't take me back. Maybe it was too late.
Come on, we've got a competition to win.
Welcome back, Maria. Noemi spun her drumstick and grinned at me. It was our turn to take the stage. We played the best show of our lives. It felt so good to be back on stage with my friends. Afterwards, we waited to hear the judge's verdict. Pablo asked to speak to me privately.
Sorry if I was a jerk. I just remember how quiet you used to be before you started singing. And then you found your voice, and you were incredible. Don't let anyone ever take your voice away.
I'm sorry too. I guess I really believed for a second that I could be a star one day. That's what Tommy said.
He was wrong.
Of course you don't think I could be. To you, I'm just plain old Maria.
Maria, he was wrong to say one day. You're a star now.
And then something crazy happened. Pablo leaned in and kissed me. It turned out he had had a crush on me since forever, but he was worried acting on it might hurt the band. But I was glad he did. There was nothing that could stop us now. Noemi joined us as the judges stood to announce the winner, the Pink Ponies, in second place. And in first place, us. We jumped up and down and hugged each other. One day, we would play a show in Europe. But right now, I couldn't have been happier to be where I was. Hi, I'm Jody from North Dakota. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be able to fulfill all your New Year's resolutions. Ever since I can remember, Dad made me and my younger brother Josh compete for everything.
This teddy's mine. I grabbed it first. So what? I saw it first.
Don't fight, kids. The one of you who burps the loudest gets it.
Josh's burp was way louder than mine, and the teddy went to him. So annoying. On our way back home, Josh and I fought over the window seat. And again, Dad had a weird solution.
Let's see who can stick their head out of the window and spit the farthest.
Josh won again. But I accidentally spilled some orange juice on the window seat, so his butt ended up all wet and sticky. Josh usually won these crazy competitions, and he and Dad were a team. But Mom adored me, and we spent hours baking together. And unlike Dad, she didn't make us compete for stuff. The purple car's for Josh, and the red one's for you, Jody.
Why buy two cars? They could have shared one. When will you understand that money doesn't grow on trees?
Dad left the office looking upset, but Mom turned to us with a huge smile. I got you guys 2 packs of crayons too, but don't tell Dad, okay?
You're the best, Mom.
But Josh broke all his crayons in minutes, then grabbed mine and flushed them down the toilet. He really was a top-grade jerk. Other than that, my life was good. But then one day, everything came crashing down. Mom had ordered pizza for Josh and me, and we were fighting over the last slice when Dad came back from work early.
You ordered pizza again? Why can't you cook, lazy woman? I'm not some millionaire.
They had a huge fight that day, and suddenly, Mom was packing her bags to leave. I cried and tried to stop her, but she said she'd come and see us soon and just left. Then Dad gave me the last slice of pizza, and I immediately stopped crying and stuck my tongue out at Josh. Don't judge me for not being sadder, guys. I was only 7 then. A few weeks later, our parents got divorced, and since Mom wasn't financially stable, we stayed with Dad. Mom only visited us on weekends and special occasions. Years passed, and Josh and I finally reached high school. One day, we came back from school to find Mom getting out of a flashy car. Jody, Josh, come quickly. I'm taking you to my new home for the weekend. Her new home was a freaking palace. It turned out that Mom's fiancé Steve was a real estate mogul, and this was one of his houses. Later after lunch, Mom said she had something important to discuss. I haven't been able to offer you a home before, but thanks to Steve's support, I can now. I'd love for you guys to come live here with me. What do you think? We were both taken aback, but then Josh said he wouldn't leave Dad and walked out of the room. Mom looked heartbroken. What about you, Jody? To be honest, I'd missed being close to Mom, and it wouldn't be too bad getting away from Josh and not fighting for everything. I think I'd like to stay with you, but what about Dad? I'll talk to him, don't worry. And you can still see him whenever you want. Oh, this is just such wonderful news. After the weekend, Josh went back to Dad and I moved in with Mom. She let me have the biggest bedroom. I love it here, Mom, and I love you. I've been waiting to hear that for so long. In the coming days, Mom got me anything I wanted. New clothes, new shoes, new handbags, new bedroom furniture. I even had 3 maids waiting on me hand and foot. One day, I decided to bake a cake for Mom, but I just couldn't figure out the fancy oven settings. Before I knew it, there was a small blast. Just then, a girl my age came running in. Are you trying to burn the kitchen down? I'm sorry, I was just trying to bake a cake. Well, it looks more like a volcano now. No wonder it caused so much destruction. She looked at me, and then we both burst out laughing. The girl introduced herself as Darcy, our butler's daughter. We got to talking, and I found out that Darcy loved baking too. We exchanged a few recipes and decided to try them soon. The next day, Mom got me enrolled into a fancy private school, but it looked more like a 5-star hotel. And the students looked like they'd walked off a modeling ramp. Feeling kind of nervous, I was trying to find my classroom when a group of the most gorgeous girls suddenly blocked my way. New admission. We like your Gucci's and Chanel, girl. You can join our pack. And just like that, I became a part of the most popular group in school, the Wildcats. And boy, these cats were wild. They partied like crazy, blew thousands of dollars on useless stuff, and got tattoos in the weirdest places. But for the first time in my life, I was among the popular kids in school, and I was loving it. A few weeks later, I was hanging out with my cool group outside school, and to my shock, they started smoking. One of them pushed me to try it too, and I didn't want to look uncool, so I did. But I started coughing like crazy. Jody, what are you doing? OMG, Jody, who's this peasant talking to you? What are you doing here, Darcy? I study at the school 2 blocks down. I was just walking home. Ew, are you talking about that gross public school? That confirms you're poor. Jody, you're a wildcat. You can't be talking to people like her. Yeah. Darcy, please go away. I'll talk to you later if I have time. Darcy gave me a disgusted look and left. I felt terrible, but I had a reputation to maintain now. When I got back home, I found Steve and Mom waiting for me, and I knew there was trouble.
So, you're smoking now? Is that why I'm paying your sky-high school fees?
Jody, I'm so disappointed in you. What? I didn't. There must be some mistake.
Don't you dare lie to me. You were smoking, and the butler's daughter saw you.
Steve was always so calm, and seeing him like that was kinda scary. He shouted at Darcy to come in.
Tell me what you told us earlier, girl. Did you see Jody smoking or not?
Darcy looked at me, then turned nervously to him. Sir, I think I made a mistake because that girl was wearing a different dress. I'm so sorry for the confusion. Steve sent her away angrily, and soon after I followed her. What were you thinking, being a snitch? I was
trying to save you from falling into bad habits. But I wasn't expecting Mr. Steve to react so badly, so I changed my statement. You should be thanking me. Well, no thank you. Just mind your own business. Yeah, I'll do that now. You're just a rich brat. I don't know why I thought you were different. I felt so mad at her. But I forgot about the fight soon because the following week I had a crazy schedule. I went to school, attended salsa and French classes Mom enrolled me in, and then went out partying with my friends. I was so busy with my new life that I almost completely forgot about Dad and Josh, too. Then one day, I got a call from Josh.
Can you come home this evening? I want to plan a surprise party for Dad.
I promised Josh I'd be there, and that I'd also bake a special cake for Dad. When I came back from school that day, Mom was already waiting for me. Jody, there's an important event tonight, and Steve says I need to look my best. So I was thinking, we'll get shopping first, and then maybe we'll both get makeovers. That sounds cool. By the time we came back home from the mall, I was so exhausted that I took a short nap. When I woke up, it was already so late. When I got to Dad's place, Josh was done with all the preparations. I am so sorry.
No problem. At least it turned up. No need to be so snarky. I was just tired. Yeah, I know how exhausting shopping can be. I saw you at the mall with Mom. You've changed, Jody.
No, I haven't.
Really? Then where's Dad's birthday cake?
That's when I realized I'd completely forgotten about it.
Seems like life with us wasn't good enough for you. That's why it's so easy for Mom to buy your love with all this fancy stuff.
That's not what she's doing. And maybe I like it that I don't always have to share things with you. And Mom and Steve never scold me for buying something I want. They aren't stingy like Dad. Just then, I realized that Dad had walked in. Oh, Dad! Happy birthday!
I know that I'm careful with money, Jody, but I've always worked hard and tried to give you a good life.
I know that. I didn't mean it.
Yes, you did. You just didn't mean for me to hear it.
Dad said he was tired and just wanted to go to bed. And Josh was so mad at me for ruining everything. Back at home, I tried falling asleep but kept feeling terrible. I didn't mean to hurt Dad. And was it true that I'd changed, like Josh had said? A few days later, Mom and Steve were out at some party, so I invited some friends over. We were having a great time, dancing, till one of them started a food fight, and the next thing I knew, they were all going crazy. Can you stop, please? My parents won't be happy about this.
What? We're just having fun. And I'm sure you have plenty of servants to do the cleanup.
Look, there's one. She pointed at Darcy, who just walked in with drinks and got hit by some food. Just then, one girl jumped on the couch, knocking over a large crystal vase and smashed it to bits on the floor. That's it! Enough! You guys don't get to disrespect anyone, and you don't get to act like spoiled brats in someone's house. Leave, all of you. You can't talk to us like that. We made you one of the most popular girls in school, and we can end that instantly by kicking you out of the Wildcats. Sounds amazing. That's exactly what I want. Now get out. The girls stormed off while Darcy and I stared at the mess. I'll take care of this. You don't need to help. You'll never get this done alone before Mr. Steve's back. So let's not waste time. We worked our butts off for the next 2 hours and finally sat down exhausted. Hey, I'm sorry my friends acted like jerks. I don't care about them, but I hadn't expected you to be like that or even have such friends. I know. I don't even know who I am these days. I've been trying so hard to fit in with these people I don't even like. And also, it's not my dad's birthday and hurt his feelings. And my brother, he thinks Mom's trying to buy my love by giving me all these gifts. Do you feel the same? Maybe. She hasn't spent much time with me ever since I moved in here, but she does get me whatever I want. Darcy suggested I tell Mom how I felt. So later that night, I walked up to Mom's room to talk when I heard her and Steve arguing.
Steve, I changed myself completely for your sake. I tried my best to be a good partner, but I can't tolerate you cheating on me. Do you have another option? Do you want me to throw you and your daughter out of this house?
No. There's nothing I wouldn't put up with for my daughter's happiness. I finally have her love after all these years. I wouldn't be able to bear it if she leaves me.
Then stay quiet and don't interfere in my matters.
I slid behind a statue as Steve marched out of the door. When I peeked into Mom's room, I found her crying. And just then, reality hit me. Mom wasn't trying to buy my love. She was just showering me with hers. Mom? Oh, Jody! I think I have something in my eye.
I heard you and Steve talking, Mom, and I want you to know that I love you, whether you have money or not.
But on my own, I don't even have enough to give you the kind of life you were living with your dad. I was just a waitress, and I met Steve.
I don't care, Mom. It's you I want to be with, not your house or the stuff you can give me. You know what? I've always wanted to start a small baking business. Maybe we should do that together. The next day, Mom and I moved out of Steve's mansion with our hands empty, but our hearts full. We rented a tiny apartment and started our baking business from home. And I took the time to reconnect with Dad and Josh and even kept in touch with Darcy. In a few months, our business took off with massive help from Josh.
Cake number 17 delivered.
Thanks, bro. Aren't you the best?
I know. That's why I want these headphones.
What? No! Mom got those for me. Some things never change, do they?